In this video, we're gonna show you how to work with GitHub. First of all, you're gonna need to sign up. After the registration, your profile gonna look like this. Now we can create our repository. Let's go to plus and click New Repository. Here we have to add repository name. You can use only small letters separated by dashes. And description. Your homework repository has to be public, then it will be available to everyone by link. Next, add the README file. It is needed for detailed description of the project. By default, GitHub pulls all the files from the folder you commit. We can change this by adding a gitignore file to our project. Let's try to do this by adding node to our gitignore. After that, click Create Repository. And that is our created repository. Now it contains only those files that we added during the creation process. In Settings, you can rename your repository, and at the bottom of the page we can delete our repository if we need it. For managing GitHub on your computer, you're gonna need to install two programs. First is Git, and the second is GitHub Desktop. After installing them, log into your account in GitHub Desktop. Your first launch gonna look like this. Click Sign in to GitHub. I have already used GitHub Desktop, so for signing in, I have to go to File, Options, and Sign in. Continue. Open with GitHub. Now we can see in Options that we signed in. At first setup, you may need to add your name and email in here. Now we need to add our repository to GitHub Desktop. Let's go back to our repository, click Code, and open with GitHub Desktop. Here you can see the link to your GitHub repository and local path in which we're gonna save our repository, and then click Clone. Now let's check it out. GitHub tutorial, our two files. Now we can open our code in Visual Studio. Just click in here. Our two files. So from here you can start to create your files and code in them. I will add pre-created files to this folder. Let's go back to VS Code. Now we can see all our files. Let's go live. That is how it looks like now. Let's go back to GitHub Desktop, and here we can see all our added files. Now let's create a commit. Commit is like a checkpoint for not losing the created data and save it in cloud, which is GitHub. We need to add our name of commit. The name of commit is required, and we can add additional description if you want. After that, just click Commit to main. Now let's synchronize our repositories on GitHub Desktop and GitHub web page by clicking Push Origin. Let's go back to GitHub. Let's refresh the page, and now we can see all the files that we added. From here, we can open files and edit them. Let's try it. Click here to edit file, and let's delete this string. After that, just commit changes. Let's go back. Now we want to see this change on GitHub Desktop. Let's go back there and click Fetch Origin. GitHub Desktop understands that there has been some changes and we can pull them now. Let's go to VS Code and see that this string has been deleted from here. Also, GitHub Desktop can show you deleted strings. Let's delete this one, save it, and see red line, deleted string. Okay, Let's change last things, edit some style. Now our page must look like this. Let's go back to GitHub Desktop and create new commit. Now we want to host our page. For this, GitHub provides the GitHub Pages service. Let's go to Settings, then Pages. Here we have to choose our source, which is gonna be the main branch. Root will be selected folder by default. And then click Save. Now our site is in process of publishing. It will be available on this link. Sometimes this process can take up to 5 or 10 minutes, depending on size of the project. If it's not ready yet, you're gonna see this message. After a while, let's refresh. And now our site is published. Let's visit it. Everything is okay. Let's add our link in repository details. Click here and add a website. Save changes. In your homeworks, you're gonna need to attach repository link and the link to your live page. And that is how GitHub works. So the only thing left is to attach our GitHub links to our homework. First, let's copy our GitHub repository link. We need to go to our LMS system. And here we got task of your module. Let's go over here and click this link. Let's create link title, GitHub repo, and let's paste link in here. Then let's write enter. Let's go back to our GitHub and select our live page. Let's go back in here. Let's call it like that and paste this. After that, we only need to click send homework. And that is how it's done. We can click on GitHub repo and it's gonna open our repository. And by clicking on live page, we are opening our live page. And that is how you need to submit your homeworks.